Greg in New York, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Greg.
Hey, how are you guys?
What's on your mind tonight, Greg?
I called in the other day. I kind of enjoy calling you guys and discussing my views. Wanted to clarify. I love to call in because not because I think I'm right. I just want to kind of battle test my views, and it took me years to get to the point where I'm pretty confident in them. But I'm always open to sort of, being set straight.
Yeah, I'm always thankful when you call in. I think you're a great caller, Greg.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that, and I enjoy calling in.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to talk about the distinction between minarchism and anarchism. I consider myself basically as a minarchist, not because it was an arbitrary choice, but just because I see the value in some government, management team sort of things. And I was always wondering what is common to all those things that I think are important. And what's common is basically, I found, it's things that the vast majority of the population. And so that's where I was basically calling.
Minarchism versus anarchism. We can find out more about it here in moments. You can take control. It's Free Talk Live. Greg, he's back with us in New York. Greg, you were saying something about the difference between minarchism and anarchism. Minarchism being the idea that some small level of government is acceptable and desirable, and anarchism, of course, rejects the idea of governance whatsoever. In fact, some might argue that it rejects the idea of self-governance, which is one of the reasons why I'm not an anarchist. But I'm also not a minarchist either. I like the term voluntarist for myself.
Mostly, if you go and read about anarchist, thinking, start on the Wikipedia page, you're going to find essentially people who want sort of self-grouping socialists.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's probably true for a lot of anarchists. There's also the people that call themselves anarcho-capitalists, so not all anarchists are made equal. Regardless, what was the point you were trying to make, Greg?
Yeah, so basically, as a self-described minarchist, I guess I would be called a statist. But I think I'm still more liberty-oriented than the average statist, basically. So I'm not sitting around, saying, hey, look at this free society that I already live in. I know how to make it better. Let me control some people, and that way I can make a better outcome. I am saying I recognize that people do form organizations. There's no way around it. People are going to organize, and once they form organizations, they're going to have to find a way to manage those organizations, like the condo you were just talking about. That condo may have a policy that you disagree with. It could be no pets. It could be check the boilers. And the thing is, that you have reasons to be in that condo that may outweigh your disagreement. And
Yep.
At the end of the day, you can move to another condo, or you may choose to stay and put up with the policies. So I view other larger organizations the same way. I'm not saying they don't perpetrate violence. What I am saying is it's going to happen anyway that organizations will form, and anyway, people are not going to agree with every decision of the management team. What I want to care about is how can we set up these organizations, their constitutions, and the way they're run in the first place, so that we can prevent the most egregious things that we have found to date. And I think that is an important focus.
I don't believe you can. I don't think you can write any words down paper that are going to prevent the governments from growing and becoming more oppressive over time. There's no evidence that any of the words so far have worked. I don't see why a new combination of them would all of a sudden create the magic spell that would restrict the government.
I mean, the United States is probably if you look at governments in the world and sort of how you would structure them and what you would hope that they would accomplish within the confines of an organization that claims a monopoly privilege on a given piece of land, the United States has to be the pinnacle of that. And the United States is essentially trying to rule the world. The State Department either basically has a carrot or a stick for your foreign country, whoever it might be, and you'll follow their rules, or you'll get the carrot, and you won't get the carrot, or you will get the stick.
No, absolutely. I think many governments today are engaging in all kinds. Look at Russia. Look at the United States, and all these governments act in imperial ways. They disrupt the sovereignty of other countries. I agree with all that. I'm just saying that I think there are tools that people have used. I mean, the United States tried some really innovative tools at the time, which was checks and balances and Bill of Rights. And the Constitution limited the government's power. Now, it took 300 years for the thing to start, shaking apart. But I'm
Arguably
saying
not.
that
Some would say it shook apart right out the gate.
Alien Sedition
possibly.
Act.
I mean, Lysander Spooner might say that.
Well,
Man, you'd be
the
right.
Alien and Sedition Act under Adams, the second president, was some pretty tyrannical legislation. Jefferson he himself admitted to unconstitutionally employing the incipient Navy against the Tripoli pirates.
And furthermore, the according to the Constitution, the way the federal government was to raise money was with import duties and excise taxes, and there's nothing virtuous about that. That's just scapegoating in a manner of speaking.
All right, so Greg, what do you think? I mean, you were talking about you've been thinking about ways to tie down the government with the chains of some sort of constitution. What would you like to see change? What wording or what difference?
I mean, obviously my thinking is simplistic compared to the complexity of reality. But the common criticism of minarchists is like, okay, well, what would you think the minimum is? What would you say the government should do? And in my opinion, the minimum changes. It depends on the minimum expectations of society.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that the other night. I don't want to really rehash the same topic over and over again. That wasn't what I was asking. I was asking you. You said you wanted to create a government that is restricted in what it can do. I was asking you by what mechanism do you plan on restricting the government to itself?
Well, typically a government has a constitution, and then it has checks and balances to make sure that it sticks to that constitution.
And that didn't work out. That didn't work out. So how are you going to make that work?
Well, when you say it doesn't work out, are you looking for a magic pill to suddenly make everything nonviolent? I mean, you can't remove the violence.
No, that's not what I said. I was just saying that I didn't say that.
I got a couple of shots. Here, let's try this one. If a law is good enough for the federal government, it should be good enough for 100% of the representatives. I think we can get 100% of 435 politicians to agree that, murder, rape, arson, these things are bad. So if you can run your elections democratically, the representatives get 50% plus one, and they get in, then they have to agree unanimously to pass a law. Barring that one,
sure.
What's that?
Sure. So that would be a constitution. That would be one of the ways that you could run an organization. If that works better, if it leads to better outcomes, then we should try it in other organizations too.
Well, the problem with people that claim monopolies is they really don't like you trying new things. I mean, that's sort of what a monopoly is about, is protecting power.
And that's why this isn't going to happen. But I was just asking you to speculate, Greg, on if you had any ideas. It doesn't sound like you really have anything specific.
No, I have tons of examples where it's already been done. It's obviously been done in a messy way, but it's been done. For example, you were talking the other day about how come people have access to water. What about food? Of course, food. People have food stamps. The food stamp system has lifted millions out of poverty, and it acts as a safety net. 80% of America is close to the poverty line right now. It's terrible. And there's just an article that came out online. And so you're going to hear a lot about...
You're looking at the seen and the unseen, Greg. I mean, okay, sure, you can point to people who got a food stamp check or whatever, the card or whatever they put it on, and that they got food. And you can point to that. You can see that. But what you can't see is what would have happened to help people in need in the absence of the food stamp program. Obviously, people will come to the aid of folks who are in need. At least it seems obvious to me. I guess there are some people out there who believe that people need to be coerced into helping their fellow man. But to me,
hold on. We can actually go on Wikipedia and look at, for example, effect of welfare on poverty. You can see actually studies done. It had a tremendous effect on poverty in many countries across the world. So these programs do have better outcomes sometimes. How do you explain that?
I wouldn't disagree with it. I think that that you can see that there would be benefits, but the question is in the absence of that, the marketplace tends to run a little more slowly. But what you don't have is you don't have the resentment. There's the people that are, not using the safety net. They're using the hammock. They're laying there and not doing anything. And there's a lot of people that are resentful. I just saw yesterday, Republican, thank me because I'm working hard so the rest of you don't have to. Some guy was so upset about the social welfare programs in this country, he decided to put a bumper sticker on his car to talk about this. And he's right. Absolutely, there's a level of fraud. We know that the insurance companies out there will claim that 25% of insurance claims are fraudulent. That means you would assume with a much less efficient organization like the state, I don't know, 33%? 50% of people on welfare are fraudulent? I don't know.
Once again, you're arguing from the point, Greg, of you believe that this is practical. You believe that that you've pointed out here, welfare programs in your mind have helped people, and so therefore it's all worthwhile. All the violence,
well, there's diminishing returns, of course.
All the violence that backs these programs is worthwhile, whereas my position is, let's help people without the violence. Can't we do that? I mean, isn't it a good idea to help people, and can't we just persuade people to help other people without having to threaten them with violence? For instance, there's a homeless shelter that's privately run here in Keene, New Hampshire, and there are some homeless shelters that are run with government money. And the one that is privately run runs better, in my opinion.
A lot better.
I would rather support that privately run shelter, and thank you for the call. I'd rather support that privately run shelter than give money to the government shelters. But the government forces people to give money to the government shelters, so they're not even competing on an even playing field. I just want to be free to make a choice. Why shouldn't I have that freedom?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.